Drop everything, this is not a drill. Pawn Stars fans were rocked to their core when shocking rumors swept the internet. Rick Harrison, yes, the no-nonsense, sharp-tongued star of the hit reality show, had been sentenced to life in prison. In a twist no one saw coming, Rick's rise to fame has taken a dark and dramatic nosedive. What could have possibly gone so wrong to put the Pawn Stars legend behind bars for life? Buckle up, we're about to uncover the truth behind this jaw-dropping case. Richard Kevin Harrison, a well-known American businessman and television personality, was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. At the age of 2, he moved with his family to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. At the age of 8, Rick was diagnosed with epilepsy, which caused him to miss a significant amount of school. During this time, he turned to books and developed a deep love for reading. This early habit greatly contributed to his extensive knowledge of history, which would later play a key role in his professional life. Rick's early years were far from easy. His battle with epilepsy eventually led him to drop out of high school during his sophomore year. However, this setback did not weaken his ambition or curiosity. Instead, he embraced self-education, immersing himself in a wide range of subjects, especially history and business. This self-taught approach became a cornerstone of the encyclopedic knowledge he would later display on the hit show Pawn Stars. As a teenager, Rick began working alongside his father in various business ventures. It was during this time that he developed a sharp eye for value and authenticity skills that would prove invaluable in his future career. At the age of 17, Rick's girlfriend, Kim, became pregnant, prompting the young couple to get married. They would go on to have 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before eventually divorcing after 8 years of marriage. In 1981, Rick's family relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, better known as the Old Man, opened the gold and silver coin shop. By 1989, the business had evolved into the now world-famous gold and silver pawn shop, which would later serve as the setting for the hit television show Pawn Stars. The transition from a coin shop to a pawn shop was a strategic move, as the Harrisons recognized the potential for greater profits in the pawn industry. The early days were tough. Rick and his father worked long hours to build a solid reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often had to deal with difficult customers and sometimes found himself in dangerous situations, experiences that toughened him and sharpened his negotiation skills. By the early 2000s, Rick had become well known in Las Vegas for his deep knowledge of collectibles and historical artifacts. The shop gained a reputation as a place to find rare and valuable items, drawing both locals and tourists. Seeing the entertainment potential of his business, Rick began pitching the idea of a reality TV show based on the daily life of the pawn shop. After years of rejections and persistence, he finally struck a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars premiered that same year, chronicling the everyday dealings at the gold and silver pawn shop. The show featured Rick, his son Corey "Big Hoss" Harrison, his father the Old Man, and their friend Austin "Chumley" Russell as they evaluated, bought, and sold items of historical interest and often questionable value. Pawn Stars quickly became a massive success, turning Rick from a local businessman into a television celebrity. His straightforward manner, quick wit, and vast knowledge made him a fan favorite. His signature phrase, "The best I can do is," became iconic as he negotiated deals with customers from all walks of life. What set Pawn Stars apart from other reality TV shows was its unique educational component, something Rick personally insisted on. Each episode included historical insights about the items brought into the shop, with Rick often providing in-depth context and background that highlighted his extensive knowledge. This informative approach broadened the show's appeal and helped make it one of the most successful programs in the History Channel's lineup. Under Rick's leadership, the gold and silver pawn shop became more than just a business, it became a tourist destination. Visitors from around the world flocked to the shop, hoping to meet the cast or even appear on an episode. The show's popularity fueled a surge in merchandise sales, and Rick expanded his brand by writing books, making public appearances, and even opening a restaurant. The success of Pawn Stars propelled Rick into a new level of fame. He appeared on numerous talk shows, was featured in major publications, and became a sought-after speaker at business conferences. His rags-to-riches story resonated with many Americans, and his no-nonsense business advice earned him respect far beyond the entertainment industry. As the face of Pawn Stars, Rick was known for his sharp business acumen and pragmatic style. He often acted as the voice of reason on the show, tempering his son Corey's impulsive buying habits or managing Chumley's unpredictable behavior. His relationship with his father, the old man, was one of mutual respect built on years of working side by side. When his father passed away in 2018, Rick honored his legacy by continuing to run the business with the same values and integrity that had made the shop and the show a global phenomenon. Rick's personal life during the height of Pawn Stars' popularity had its share of ups and downs. After the end of his first marriage, he married Tracy Harrison, with whom he remained for 27 years before their divorce in 2011. In 2013, Rick married Deanna Burdett in a memorable ceremony officiated by his Counting Cars co-star, Danny Coker, with Chumley serving as the ring bearer. Though Rick kept most of his family life private, occasional glimpses on the show revealed a man deeply devoted to his loved ones, despite the demands of fame and business. Beyond the pawn shop, Rick expanded his entrepreneurial ventures. He opened Rick's Rollin' Smoke BBQ and Tavern at Pawn Plaza, located next to the gold and silver pawn shop. In 2011, he also co-authored a book titled License to Pawn: Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, offering insights into his life, experiences, and business philosophy. Ever the entrepreneur, Rick was always exploring new opportunities to grow his brand and expand his business empire. Throughout his career, he demonstrated a keen ability to spot value where others might overlook it. On Pawn Stars, viewers watched as he appraised a vast range of items from historical documents and vintage cars to ancient artifacts and modern collectibles. While Rick's knowledge was impressive, he often brought in outside experts when needed, showing both humility and sound judgment in recognizing the limits of his expertise. Over the years, Rick has bought and sold countless items. Some turned out to be great investments, while others fell short. His expertise in firearms, timepieces, and American historical items often led to successful deals, turning modest purchases into substantial profits for the shop. One of his most memorable acquisitions was a 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl ring, which he purchased for $2,600, valued far higher. Another standout was a collection of Spanish gold doubloons salvaged from a 1715 shipwreck, reflecting Rick's dual passion for history and precious metals. Despite his success, Rick's life has not been without its challenges, many of which stemmed from the consequences of his own choices. In 2023, Rick faced serious legal trouble when federal agents raided his Las Vegas home as part of a months-long investigation. At first, the public was left in the dark regarding the nature of the probe, sparking widespread speculation and concern across social media and fan communities. The raid came as a shock not only to fans, but also to those close to Rick. FBI agents, accompanied by IRS investigators and representatives from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, executed search warrants at both Rick's home and the gold and silver pawn shop. Employees and customers present during the raid were temporarily detained, while authorities seized computers, documents, and various items from the store's inventory. Rick's son, Corey, who was present at the shop during the raid, later described the experience as surreal, comparing it to a scene from a movie. Witnesses reported that Rick remained calm and composed as agents escorted him from his home, even as neighbors captured the moment on their phones' footage that quickly circulated online. As more information came to light, the scope of the investigation began to emerge. Authorities were reportedly looking into allegations of a complex tax evasion scheme, money laundering activities involving high-value items processed through the pawn shop, and accusations related to the sale and acquisition of illegally obtained artifacts. The probe was said to have been prompted by irregular transactions flagged by financial institutions, as well as complaints filed by former business associates. In the weeks following the raid, the History Channel announced the suspension of Pawn Stars, releasing a brief statement that they were monitoring the situation and would make further decisions as more information became available. Meanwhile, the gold and silver pawn shop remained open, but business noticeably declined as the legal cloud over Rick began to affect customer confidence and foot traffic. Rick's representatives quickly issued strong denials, calling the investigation a misunderstanding that would soon be resolved. His attorney, David Marshall, a prominent Las Vegas lawyer known for representing high-profile clients, publicly asserted that Rick had always operated his businesses with integrity and in full compliance with the law. However, as the investigation progressed, troubling details emerged. Authorities alleged that Rick had been involved in a scheme to intentionally undervalue certain historical artifacts for tax purposes, only to sell them privately at their true market value. Further allegations suggested that Rick had knowingly purchased stolen historical items through intermediaries. These included documents of national significance and artifacts, reportedly traced back to museums and private collections. According to court documents later unsealed, the investigation was partially sparked by a former employee who had worked closely with Rick in acquiring high-value items. This whistleblower provided authorities with detailed accounts of a secret bookkeeping system allegedly used to conceal off-the-record transactions. Rick was arrested but released on bond the following day. He was formally charged with multiple felonies, including tax evasion, money laundering, dealing in stolen property, and conspiracy to traffic in illegally obtained cultural artifacts. His lawyer reaffirmed Rick's intent to fight the charges vigorously, maintaining his innocence throughout. The legal battle stretched on for nearly a year. As the case unfolded, the prosecution presented mounting evidence, financial records, encrypted communications, and testimonies from former employees who claimed Rick had directed them to manipulate documentation for valuable items. Authorities also introduced evidence of offshore accounts used to conceal profits from high-ticket sales. One particularly damaging piece of evidence was a series of text messages allegedly exchanged between Rick and an unnamed supplier, discussing how to clean the provenance of an 18th century document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. In another conversation, Rick reportedly advised on structuring a transaction to avoid mandatory cash reporting thresholds. Despite the seriousness of the allegations, Rick maintained a defiant public image. He made several appearances on conservative talk shows, claiming he was being targeted for his political beliefs and financial success. His supporters rallied around him, creating Free Rick hashtags and staging protests outside the courthouse during hearings. However, public perception began to shift as the details became harder to ignore. For many fans, it was a shocking fall from grace. The man who once embodied the image of a straight-shooting, historically savvy businessman was now at the center of a high-profile legal scandal, one that suggested not just poor judgment, but criminal behavior. The arrest report for Pawn Stars Rick Harrison was finally released, revealing a side of him few had ever seen. Beneath the affable, knowledgeable persona known to millions, investigators painted a portrait of a more calculating figure, one willing to take significant risks for personal gain. His legal troubles cast a shadow over his legacy and revealed an unexpected dimension to his character. Still, while many were quick to judge based on media headlines, others took a more compassionate stance. Support groups began to emerge across social media platforms, with fans sharing stories of how Rick had positively influenced their lives through Pawn Stars. For many, the show wasn't just entertainment, it was a window into history. "Rick taught me to love history in a way school never could," one supporter wrote. "Now it's our turn to show him we haven't forgotten the good he's done." These communities urged others not to overlook Rick's educational impact, even in the face of serious allegations. When the day of sentencing arrived, the courtroom was tense. Rick, who had remained composed throughout the trial, turned pale as the judge delivered the verdict. Behind him, his son Corey buried his head in his hands. Shumley, who had faithfully attended each day of the proceedings in support of his longtime friend and mentor, was seen hurrying out of the courtroom, visibly shaken. The sentence shocked even seasoned legal observers. Many felt it was unusually harsh for a nonviolent offense. But the judge made it clear that the punishment reflected more than just financial crimes. "Mr. Harrison, you have presented yourself to the American public as a guardian of history, someone who values the stories behind objects and understands their role in our collective heritage," the judge said solemnly. "Yet in reality, you participated in the systematic looting and destruction of irreplaceable cultural sites for personal profit. This court cannot ignore the gravity of such actions." In the days following the sentencing, Rick's legal team filed an immediate appeal, calling the punishment excessive and unconstitutional, given the nonviolent nature of the offenses. They also requested that Rick remain free on bond while the appeal was considered. The court denied the request, and images of Rick being led away in handcuffs quickly flooded the news and social media, marking a dramatic and heartbreaking fall from grace. The public reaction to Rick Harrison's conviction and sentencing was deeply divided. Many longtime fans were stunned, suggesting that a grave miscarriage of justice had occurred. Others, particularly within academic, legal, and cultural heritage circles, welcomed the verdict, viewing it as a strong message against the illicit trade in looted artifacts and a necessary deterrent. Amid the controversy, Rick's supporters launched an unprecedented wave of solidarity. The Hearts for Harrison campaign, organized by devoted fans, quickly gained momentum. More than 100,000 signatures were collected in a petition urging a formal review of his case. Supporters pointed to what they viewed as the excessive nature of his punishment, especially when compared to sentences handed down in similar nonviolent cases. "We're not saying he shouldn't face consequences if he broke the law," explained campaign organizer Melissa Jenkins. "But a life sentence for a nonviolent offense isn't justice, it's vengeance." The campaign called on the public to support Rick's appeal through signatures, donations to his legal defense fund, and public advocacy. Even a small contribution can make a difference. Read a statement from the campaign. Whether it's $1, a prayer, or a kind message, every act of support helps. Rick's son, Corey, also spoke out publicly. "My father made mistakes," he said, "but he doesn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves the chance to make amends." The History Channel, meanwhile, took swift action to distance itself from the scandal. The network officially canceled Pawn Stars and removed reruns from its immediate broadcast schedule. In a statement, the network expressed its deep disappointment in Rick's actions and reaffirmed its commitment to the ethical treatment and preservation of historical and cultural artifacts. Despite the fallout, Rick's impact on the world of reality television and the modern pawn industry remained undeniable. Before his legal troubles, Pawn Stars had redefined the genre, mixing education, entertainment, and commerce in a way that resonated with audiences around the world. His legacy, now complicated and controversial, continues to stir debate about accountability, redemption, and the true price of fame. Before his legal troubles, Rick Harrison built a thriving business empire that went beyond the gold and silver pawn shop. He opened several restaurants and bars in Las Vegas and had plans to expand into other cities. After Rick's conviction, his son Corey Harrison took over the shop. Although customer traffic initially declined, Corey worked hard to rebuild the store's image. He implemented strict protocols for verifying item provenance and partnered with museums and educational institutions to promote ethical collecting. "What happened was wrong," Corey admitted. "We're committed to being part of the solution." Shumley, who had long viewed Rick as a mentor and father figure, expressed his conflicting emotions. "I learned so much from Rick, but I've had to accept there was a side of him I didn't want to see." The Harrison family continues to support Rick through his appeal while working to restore the shop's reputation. Corey, now leading the business, has surprised many with his maturity and leadership. "My dad taught me everything I know," he said. "Now I'm building on the best parts of that legacy." Fans around the world have shown overwhelming support, sending letters, cards, and messages of encouragement. Every Sunday, the family organizes prayer circles outside the pawn shop, inviting anyone to join in solidarity. These gestures have brought hope during Rick's darkest hours. Rick Harrison's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, rising from a humble pawn shop owner to a reality TV icon and successful entrepreneur, only to fall from grace as a convicted felon, now serving a life sentence. His transformation from respected businessman to disgraced public figure is a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can shift, especially under the relentless glare of fame. Cultural commentators have compared his downfall to something out of Shakespeare, a man celebrated for his deep knowledge of history, ultimately brought down by his mishandling of historical artifacts. His story has become a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of success, the temptations it brings, and the fine line between smart business and illegal activity. As the case continues to unfold, it has shaken the reality TV world and left the Harrison family fighting to keep their business alive without its charismatic leader. In these difficult times, Rick needs all the support he can get. If Pawn Stars has ever inspired or entertained you, consider sending him your prayers, positive thoughts, or a message of encouragement. The Harrison family has created a website where fans can leave messages, which are regularly delivered to Rick in prison. They've shared that hearing from supporters has been one of his few sources of strength. Rick has always appreciated the Pawn Stars audience, the family said in a statement. "Now more than ever, knowing you're still in his corner means everything to him."